It was a week that began badly but finished well for the opposition. The LNP had a win in Parliament, catching out the government breaching its own guidelines for taxpayer-funded advertising. But internal strife at the start of the week gave the government ammunition to mock John Paul Langbroek. Chris O'Brien reports.
Do the Parliament a favour and actually bring it on and put him out of his misery, Mr Speaker. Let's end this forlorn chapter.
Order.
Let's end this forlorn chapter in the history of this Parliament for what has likely been the worst leader of the opposition.
He's biased, of course, and I'm not sure where to find an empirical ranking of opposition leaders, or treasurers for that matter. But the leadership attack was inevitable after a recent eruption of LNP infighting.
So debased is the leader of the opposition by the henchmen who put him there that this forlorn creature doesn't even know why he's there anymore. He doesn't know what to do with the job, Mr Speaker, and he doesn't want it anymore. The reality is, Mr Speaker, that if the member for Gregory came across such a forlorn and wounded creature on his property, he'd do the right thing and wouldn't let it see sundown, Mr Speaker. He'd put it out of its misery.
By the way, those comments came in an answer to a question about third-party insurance premiums. I won't bother explaining how ministers are allowed to do that. It's all about parliamentary tactics. One of the opposition's tactics is to target a variety of ministers on the same issue. They used the strategy again this week in relation to a sentencing controversy in a child sex case. Instead of going straight for the Attorney-General or the Premier, the opposition leader began with the Child Safety Minister.
Has the Child Safety Minister made any representations to the Attorney-General about strengthening Labor's weak sentencing laws, or is the Minister satisfied that the sentence provides adequate protection to children?
I thank the honourable member for the question. I obviously will not talk about a specific case because it may be up for appeals, and most of those matters that the member has referred to are matters for the Attorney-General.
Mr Langbroek tried again with the Education Minister.
Given the offender was a student protection officer and given the Minister is responsible for the care of children with education providers, has the Minister made any representations to the Attorney-General about strengthening Labor's weak sentencing laws, and if so, will the Minister release it?
I will not comment specifically about the particular matter that has been raised by the Leader of the Opposition. He ought to know better. This matter is subject to legal process.
The opposition had a win this week when the government was sprung, breaching its own guidelines for political advertising. The trouble with this Transport Department pamphlet is the photo of the local member, Anastasia Palaszczuk.
Is the Minister aware that this brochure contravenes state government advertising guidelines? And will the Minister explain why taxpayer funds are being used to promote local Labor MPs in their local electorates?
This brochure simply provides community information about what the project is and invites people to find out further information about it. That strikes me, Mr Speaker, as essentially unremarkable. This is a great piece of community infrastructure for those growing communities.
But the Premier disagreed with her minister, saying it was a clear breach of the guidelines.
Mr Speaker, I'm advised by the Minister that she did not approve the material herself. Nevertheless, in my view, it's unacceptable. Mr Speaker, I'm further advised that there are no more of these. I've directed that no more of these are to be distributed and that the material is to be withdrawn from the Department of Transport website. Mr Speaker, I'll also be issuing a reminder today to all Ministers, Chiefs of Staff and Director-Generals outlining the requirements as specified in the guidelines. My expectation that the requirements will be upheld, and I thank the member for Southern Downs for bringing it to my attention.
She went further and ordered Ms Nolan and Ms Palaszczuk to pay for the material themselves. In light of that, from an opposition point of view, when you're on a good thing, you stick to it. They went foraging for more brochures and reckon they found 8 more transgressors.
Given that Labor's advertising scheme has now embroiled 6 ministers, representing 1/3 of the Cabinet, and embroiled half of the 8 parliamentary secretaries, will the Premier now just show a skerrick of leadership by sacking each and every Labor member involved?
But no such luck this time.
All of this material meets the guidelines. It is information for residents about major projects in their area. Mr Speaker, there is nothing in the guidelines that precludes a photo of a member if it's in context.
It is, of course, a classic grey area, the messy overlap of political propaganda, legitimate information and taxpayers' money. So we haven't heard the last of this one. The Speaker this week invited Deaf Services Queensland to interpret question time to support next week's National Week of Deaf People. Opposition MP David Gibson even asked a question in Auslan.
It's reported that the Queensland Police expenditure on Auslan interpreting was dropped by over 64%.
Parliament returns at the end of the month for the penultimate 2010 sitting. Next week, the Premier sets up shop in Townsville to run the state from the north for a few days. And speaking of the north, the Main Roads Minister was pleased to report that no cassowaries have died on local roads recently.
Indeed, I nursed a cassowary chick when I was up at Mission Beach earlier this year with Community Cabinet, Mr Speaker. It was a rare moment of male bonding and appropriate in the circumstances, Mr Speaker, because you see, cassowaries are cared for by their fathers, not their mothers.